Hello, my name is Xiao, and I would like to talk to you today about our KI paper, Who Should Hold Control? Rethinking Empowerment in Home Automation Among Cohabitants Through the Lens of Co-Design. This work was done with the colleagues and students at Tsinghua University. In recent years, we have witnessed the popularization of smart home technology and more technology-augmented capabilities for people. We now have something popular called home automation, which allows users to automatically control their smart home devices in response. And there's a specific paradigm for people to achieve this home automation, which is called trigger action program. With home automation, people can set some specific environmental or technical conditions as triggers and make the smart devices work based on how they hope their home could be. It's rule-based and people are expected to achieve all this at home based on a simple if-else syntax. So we can see many narratives that highlight the empowerment from home automation, such as it extends domestic capabilities and enhances environmental control for people at home to embrace their ideal family life. However, the reality is not as beautiful as we expect. Obviously, the people in a family are all completely different, so not all of them can use the technology easily, especially when smart home devices are brought to the home by one of the cohabitants, so others become subordinate and even marginalized because they can't use them properly. That happens more often in those non-expert communities, as we have seen the barriers to children and old adults, so that's contradictory to home automation's vision around empowerment. Therefore, our research context looks specifically between cohabitants such as families and roommates, as we need more information about how these diverse cohabitants engage in the home automation use and negotiate with others from their specific social dynamics. We'd like to gain more insight into the topics around empowerment in home automation and contribute to a social-technical perspective on how designers should consider the home automation technology. So there are the research questions. What are the implications on empowerment in home automation within the cohabitants context, and how might we designers and researchers support empowerment in home automation? There are two big things. One is that we'd like to unfold the problematic around empowerment and home automations, from probing their need and interpersonal interaction with their cohabitants. And based on that, we aim to provide pragmatic suggestions for designers and researchers to support empowerment through those domestic technologies. So how did we do this? We organized 5 co-design workshops with 20 participants from different age groups, different cohabitants, situations, and different smart home usage experience. The reason why we use co-design is because we recognize the ideological parallels between home automation and co-design approach in HCI. We would like to engage different cohabitants in a co-creation process to let them work together and negotiate together to figure out how to create a more empowering process, especially for the non-expert in home automation ideation. And there are several tools and materials that we designed for the co-design workshops. Firstly, we developed a set of car-based tools which is inspired by Nora et al.'s work Tails. They are the smart devices, the available functions and environmental information on the cars working as shared materials in the workshop to let users put them on the table for setting triggers and actions. And there are also the stickers representing the rule-based syntax such as if, then, and or. Then the participants can generate their home automation schemes by arranging cars and showing its logic with the stickers and put all of those materials on the cardboard. So for the co-design workshop, we used the following configuration. 20 participants recruited with preliminary screening and snowballing to make sure the cohabitants and families could come. The participants display a wide range of diversity in terms of age, occupations, technical proficiency, experience using smart home, social roles within the household, and living conditions. The living conditions varied with types of married couples, unmarried couples, 3-generation households, and family living together. And where did we make the workshop happen? We want to be experience-centered but also make the workshop responsive for all the participants and researchers. So finally, we conduct the workshop within a living lab with the smart home devices equipped. Those devices are mentioned on our car-based tools, and we made the whole workshop with following processes. The participants visited the living lab and talked with our workshop assistant before the workshop started. And there was a brief intro, a tutorial to get familiar with cars and the materials. Then the participants were asked to think about how they want to control their home and independently make automation schemes with all those cars provided. They also shared their schemes in public later. One thing we had to really think hard about is the co-creation between participants. So in the next section, people iterated their schemes. For those who came with their cohabitants, they will discuss and decide together. And for the individuals, they were asked to iterate based on others' sharing and their own new ideas. The focus group and individual interviews, we explored firstly how their experience in using home automation was. What were the roles and views they held in use, followed by how do they feel when using the car-based tools. And for those who are usually subordinate in using domestic technologies, what does it mean for them to be involved in the scheme design? We also looked to how individuals communicate and negotiate with their cohabitants, whether they had shared value and raised their concern. Is there any difference in ways of co-design between different types of cohabitants? How their final schemes were influenced, and how did they deal with possible conflicting needs in using technologies? There are 4 themes we came up with from the data analysis. The first one I'd like to introduce is about their varied roles and obstacles from their experience of using home automation in shared living spaces. Our participants are heterogeneous. They are different in age, technical proficiency, and living conditions, like some of them are living with their families, but others are not. Almost all of them reported that they are usually in a role pattern, either being a pallet user dominating the setting or being a so-called passenger user that assess the home automation system following the pallets. These are closely aligned with power studies. Under this circumstance, people who have technical skills or background actually take the lead of how to use home automation system. However, no matter the non-expert users or the users who know the technology very well, they all shared a lot about the troubles in using the system when we probed their experience. The burden from ambiguity and duplication in the configuration showed clearly in their narratives. And when it comes to the old residents, it reinforced their concern about engaging in learning how to use home automation or being a controller. The next one is about what they feel after using the card. They highlighted the perceptibility of understanding home automation rules and the relative devices used in the TAP schemes. They can easily understand schemes made by others and discern their intentions and needs of how to set their home. What does it mean of being more perceptible and understandable? From our participants sharing, that means they are more easily to immerse into the ideation, enjoy the envisioning time, and get satisfaction from it. Moreover, the course brought more participants to them. More understandings fostered more inspirations and encouraged reflective practice among participants. In the workshop, people usually expand the discussions with their cohabitants from a specific scheme to a broader scenario in their life. Those will all contribute to a deeper participants in their home settings, and that is what we are willing to see. They can take references from others and think about what augmented design they want or how they want their life to be. An enlightening incident occurred when a participant mentioned that the fingerprints might be left on a smart lock. The security concern was raised by another participant. He shared it with his roommate, which started dialogues about how to design home automation schemes and even new smart home functions on the smart lock to make sure there's a good way acknowledged by both of them to secure the door. The next thing we looked at is basically from the negotiation between cohabitants. We found out cars worked as a power probe, which uncovered the power dynamics behind the negotiation, and even offered a transformative power to those who used to be passenger users. They appear to be more contestable when deciding the schemes with their cohabitants because they have the ability to understand what the home automation scheme means and can add their own needs into the settings. We also found out the differences among groups in the way of collaboration and negotiations. Based on these different cases, we saw how small politics between cohabitants affect the narrative pattern, and that's highly related to their relationship and familiarity. For example, we observed that the members in couple or familiar relationship appears to be more direct and emotional, maintaining high acceptance of being concessive and more assertive ideas from partners. The solid interpersonal relationships allow these partners to express their attitude candidly in discourses. But for those who are roommates, the situation may change. In our workshop, 2 pairs of roommates both highly valued their autonomy to the private space and the co-management to the shared spaces. So both of them specific boundaries between private and shared space from the beginning of the iteration section. So based on the findings, the first thing we'd like to really think hard about is to expose the problem from current home automation in ideation and daily use. Our finding shows the diversity of the residents and the inconsistency of power distribution in controlled home automation between different cohabitants, which are the factors that a domestic technology should really consider. How could the system enable multi-stakeholders to design their schemes collaboratively? How could the family members or roommates build their own ecology of control based on their specific small politics? However, it's hard for designers to provide good answers for these questions with a traditional top-down design perspective. And we think this problem attributes to the limitation of a designer-led solutionism in dealing with power issues and wicked problems. It results in some members being excluded from the beneficiaries of the technical empowerment. In our workshop, we aim to make everyone become co-designers, engaging in the ideation collectively and collaboratively. And it's obviously that the co-design process helps bridge differences and solve problems through mutual learning and help among cohabitants. This reflects the importance of the scaffolding roles that home automation might play. If we consider the current home automation as a co-design process, then we may metaphor it as a problematic co-design, which means this techno-solutionism can't work as a co-design to support an empowering purpose for multi-users. To uncover this problematic deeper through the lens of co-design, we also provide 3 specific aspects showing what might be the obstacles and sources of empowerment from home automation system. And these are strongly inspired by Zamanopoulos et al., who discussed the obstacles and resources of empowerment in co-design and highlighted the roles of shared material objects and process in co-design for empowerment. Firstly, the perceptibility of TAP rules and information are important because these are the critical resources in the home automation co-design. If we hope the residents empowered by the automated technology, we must make sure that all the members are able to control and assess these critical resources in use. The designers need to think about how varied users can understand and use TAP, obtain information, and create the schemes. It's also remarkable that the help from cohabitants also works for people to control the critical resources. Secondly, we emphasize that collaboration and negotiation should be facilitated in home automation usage because the limited participation may increase barriers between different cohabitants. We know that the users with different social roles may show differential expectations on prioritizing and approaching the use of automation. However, as the concept of co-creation is not a focus, we always feel we can do nothing with the conflicts from multi-stakeholders. It's important to think about how to facilitate user engagement with collaboration and negotiation with cohabitants. Thirdly, although mobile-based user interfaces are widely used for commercial home automation systems, it would be meaningful to think about more diverse modalities. It is not surprising that cohabitants have different ways of expressing or knowledge due to different technical capacity and social roles, which indicates home automation should allow various modalities to express ideas and needs in order to make space for uncovering issues in collaboration with their family members. In our workshop, the use of cards and other shared materials demonstrate how they support the co-design process and how these tools connect diverse knowings among different participants from technical experts to 6-year-old users. Based on all the findings and discussions above, we'd like to highlight the implications of empowerment in home automation as granting more contestability to different cohabitants within the collective use of automated domestic technology. We think some inherent concepts related to empowerment by traditional home automation should be challenged. As HCI researchers used to consider the technology augmented capabilities liberate users' efficiency and productivity, so we call these people as being empowered. However, as we have exposed the problematic within the rhetoric, we know that why some people are paradoxically marginalized in the usage of home automation. We also highlight 2 principles for our designers and researchers shedding light on how we could empower households through automation systems. Firstly, we think designers should take on the role of facilitators for empowerment and committed to reduce the burden on marginalized groups, foster mutual understanding among diverse users, and motivate power distribution to democratize control. Rather than being a traditional designer and provide a system that teaches people how to arrange their life, the designers always need to think about who determines users' life and whose preferred situations are designed by designers. Secondly, the ideological diversity must be considered and, more importantly, be respected. Although we always claim to facilitate technological democratization in HCI studies and tend to hold an interventionist perspective, the question is, should we maintain the inherent power dynamics or break the hierarchy of households? Should we prioritize pursuit of democratic involvement from various stakeholders, even sometimes come into agonistics? This provides a new point of contention when we think about the empowerment related to smart home technologies. So I hope you enjoyed the talk and would like to kindly invite you to take a look at our paper for more information. And thank you for listening.